Alright, how's it going everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac and here with a video on Hell's Paradise, a show that recently just finished, has 13 episodes, and has had a long-awaited arrival. Not in the sense like, oh, it's been long in production, but more in the sense that people have been really hyped for this show. So I wanted to talk about it. So the reason why I didn't upload yesterday was because I was under a time constraint and I was out, so I didn't have time to watch it. And when I did, I didn't want to just release it and rush to release the video, right? So I decided to release it today. There's only one day, right? But without further ado, let me get into the non-spoilers for Hell's Paradise. So, for some background context to this show, right? So, I never read the manga for this show, but when the anime got announced for it, a lot of people were hyped because it's touted as a new gen seinen, right? So, along with the likes of Vinland Saga, Vagabond, Berserk, apparently Made in Abyss, and that makes sense. So, looking back on it, but this show is just really well liked by the manga community, right? And while all these shows may not have the same setting, some are in like dark high fantasy, some are in real life history, and some, like this one, take fantasy and mix it in with the real world, right? It's like it's meant to juxtapose one another to show how different this thing is and how natural it is. And people really gravitated towards it in the manga scene. So when it was announced that it was getting an anime, people were really excited and they were praising it, like really excited for it. So I started watching it in English dub first, but once those episodes ran out, I switched to Japanese and I started waiting weekly for it. And now, after having watched it, completed it, last episode dropped for season one, which I hope a season two comes out, I can give my opinion on it. And I can definitely say, like, this show is a 7.5 to an 8. I feel like the story is good. It's a simple, super easy plot to digest. You don't have to really strain yourself or think about what's going on. What really makes you strain yourself is the mystery, the detail behind the world that they're in, right? The setting is what enhances the show and makes it unique from other new gen stuff that is out right now. Because of where they're at and what they're doing, because of it changes how they proceed with the story, right? The where of the story is so diverse and ever changing. So things will not be the same as when you enter, right? I can't go deep into it until I get to the spoilers, but the setting and the place, the where, is what enhances the show a lot for sure. It's so interesting and engaging. The characters, I like them. You know, all of them are so diverse, different. They all come from different backgrounds. So seeing each and every one of them interact with each other and act around the situation that they're in is cool. Some of them live, some of them die, and that's up to you to see when you watch the show if you have or haven't watched it. But this show is like those other manga and shows that I've mentioned, a darker type of manga and show. People will die, people will get mutilated or hurt. Like it's gory for sure. So if you don't like that type of stuff, don't watch it. It definitely is like an M-rated show. I'd say there's a lot of blood and gore. The action I thought was pretty cool. It has like that JoJo's or Jujutsu Kaisen type of fighting where people are thinking about what they're doing, and it's not we're fighting and you're just enjoying the spectacle types of stuff. And a lot of anime and manga have adapted to that style, and I don't mind either one. I'm not trying to belittle one or the other. It's just that this show, people are thinking about what they're going to do next. And because of where they're at, it merits that line of thinking as well as them being adjusted to this because they're criminals. They had to adjust to this type of lifestyle. So again, it's not a knock to other shows fighting. It's just that this show merits that type of fighting because you need to. The only way to survive is by thinking like that. The voice acting I think is pretty good. The Japanese voice actors do a great job just giving the characters emotion, making us feel what they're trying to say. Even though at the end of the day, it's a different language and I can only understand it because of subtitles. From the time that I was watching the English dub, I really enjoyed it. They had some really good voice actors for the English dub. Animation, it was great. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was amazing like Demon Slayer season 2 type of stuff or like Jujutsu Kaisen crazy, but it was consistent and that's all I really wanted. It consistently looked good, and when it wanted to look great, they could do it. They could deliver. It's just it's not always going to look 100%. The animation and the art style mix so well together, so it's like it doesn't matter. You're looking at a good looking show. And overall, I think this show is definitely worth to watch if you like that darker type of show. Again, examples like Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland Saga, darker stuff like that. If you're privy to that, you'll like this show. And if not, then at the very least give this show a chance because it's interesting. So I give it a 7.5 to an 8. Now let's get on to the spoilers. So as per usual, know that I am going to go into spoilers for House Paradise. If you haven't read what the manga covers for season 1, or if you haven't watched the show period, then please don't watch this video unless if you don't care or if you have already watched it. I never want people to go into a show knowing spoilers because that kind of sullies the first viewing. If you still have a blind watch, then I suggest maintain that. And if I was able to sway you to watch it, then give it a chance, you know? Give the first episode a shot. And if you don't like it, it's up to your discretion at that point. But regardless, this show is basically we have the main character Gabimaru, and he's a shinobi, right? He's a ninja. And this world is set in like the Japanese era before we had guns and everything. We advanced to the 21st century. I think it would be like the 19th to 18th century around there because it's advanced enough to have some important technology and they're kind of changing the eras type stuff, but again, it's not 21st century technology type stuff. And the whole point of the show is basically the shogun captured some criminals and has them like grouped up and sends them to an island so that they can get the elixir of life for him, right? And this world has like magical type stuff, fantasy elements in it, so supernatural isn't really unnatural, if you get what I'm saying. But that supernatural has limits. You'll see when we get later on in the show. And so Gabimaru is one of those prisoners, and he gets interviewed by an Asaimon. Her name is Sagiri, and she's basically wanting to see like, yo, what do you like in life, right? Like just interviewing him and trying to learn more about him. And what we learn is that Gabimaru has a loving life, and he's a shinobi, so he's kind of heartless sometimes, but he does care for one person, his wife. And he's being executed, so that's why she's interviewing him. But he can't die. Or at the very least, he's so well trained that he can't allow himself to die, even though he wants to. And so Sagiri selects him to be a part of this mission to get the elixir of life. And so they group up all the prisoners. There's some that we'll see later on, some that get weeded out through the entrance exams. But for the most part, it's a select group of people that are going to go over to this island to find it. Gabimaru proves himself willing, but he's really cracked and he's the best ninja out there. So the group is selected, and it's just a bunch of capable fighters, some crazy, some not. You know, we get to learn more about them as we progress through the show. They all get sent on ships with their own assignments. Sagiri is assigned to Gabimaru again. Everybody else has their own assignment, and we go to the island. And why they send prisoners instead of like actual law enforcement or officers is because this island is supernatural, like I mentioned earlier. So, as messed up as it is, they would rather have people who are already either on death row or just have nothing else to live for die for the country instead of sending people who are valuable and important at the risk of them dying on that island. And the more supernatural it gets depends on how far you go into the island, right? But one thing that we see immediately is that it's shrouded in fog, and once you go in, it's hard to get out. So you really can't escape once you're there until you get it. And one thing we see is just like fishmen standing up, like literal fish heads on top of human type bodies, but they're really strong, built. They're not normal, and there's just a bunch of weird string things on this island. Like if me describing it isn't a good description of it, I definitely say look up some pictures of it online because you'll see how weird it really is. So you follow Gabimaru and Sagiri for a little bit. They have some trouble getting along because Gabimaru still doesn't really trust people, but Sagiri is helping him drop his shell because she cares for him, you know. She does want to see him get together with his wife because his life is such a shallow and sad existence with the way he's been living it, you know. So being able to help him to get back to his wife is a nice gesture. Along the way, we see a bunch of characters that were assigned to the group fall out, whether that's some of the Asaimon or some of the criminals. We already have people dropping, right? We have a little girl who's assigned to a blonde hair guy, and his name is Tensa, right? Tensa and her they try to escape because they see how crazy this thing really is. As they're trying to escape, Tensa basically has to bring them back because it's just too dangerous to leave. Along the way, they meet another Asaimon. His prisoner basically cooked. He killed her, right? And he helped train Tensa. So he's trying to help him out because Tensa's losing a battle between some of the supernatural creatures here. and one of them is a group of people who rule over the place basically, and they're male and female. They're both in one body. They're still one person, but they can switch between genders. And so, unfortunately, Tensa dies trying to make sure that the two escape. And as a result of all this, a bunch of people are dying because of how weird this island really is. And we have a new character who I'm about to mention right now. A giant guy who's like kind of like a samurai type vagabond character where he lost his arm. He has no arm, and then it's just a little guy next to him who's a scientist. We have another shinobi who has a glasses guy next to her, and they actually tag along with Sagiri and Gabimaru, so that's another pair too. We have elderly duo who actually infiltrated the Asaimon to be able to survive basically. One of them's a criminal, and one of them's an Asaimon. And then we have a little girl who we meet with Gabimaru. Her name is Mei, and she's gonna stick along with him for the rest of the season. And what I didn't mention is that Mei is actually a resident of this island. She was born here, and she has connections deeper into the temple that resides on this place. And the only reason I know that is because the people that were chasing after Gabimaru were looking for her. But that's basically it. There are 5 groups. Some of them are bunched up, some of them aren't. But the way that you should see it is basically Gabimaru gets separated from Sagiri because he goes to fight one of them at night, one of the half woman, half man creatures, but he barely manages to escape because of Mei. So him and Mei are not together with the guy with no arm and the scientist kid. So that's one group, right? I'm gonna call them Group A. Group B is Sagiri, the Shinobi, and the glasses Asaemon. And they're trying to get into the middle of it, into the middle of the island to find the elixir. Along the way, the blind guy who helped Tenza and the little girl join Group B. So that's all the people in there. Group C is the brotherly duo, and that's all the people that are alive. A lot of people died, a lot of people. But as the show starts ending, the season starts coming to a close. We basically see Gabimaru fight a giant supernatural creature, and he learns how to use Tao, which is basically just like learning the energy around your body and how to manipulate it. The brotherly duo do it as well. They learn how to do it, and they fight their guy as well. But the guys that get the hardest fight is definitely Sagiri and her group, right? It takes a lot to take this creature down. It takes the blind guy almost dying. It takes the little kid basically giving as much energy as she could to this fight. Sagiri almost dying as well. The shinobi trying to help out as much as she can, but at the end of the day, it is self-preservation that matters most to her. And the glasses guy dying. So I miscounted. There were 10 people alive, not 7. But now that the glasses guy is dead, it's 9. But as we're progressing, Sagiri's group manages to go deeper into the temple to try to find the elixir, and the things that come with Tao are basically your body. It gets weaker the more you exert yourself trying to use it, right? And one of the examples we see is physical modifications to your body with like the brotherly duo. One of them has flower markings growing onto his skin. We have Sagiri where her stamina is like decreasing a little bit. She feels weaker. And then we have the memory. And Gabimaru's memory after he defeats the enemy with Tao is on the decline. He doesn't remember why he's here or why he's doing it or who these people are. So that's basically the end of the season. And I know I didn't go deep into it, but that's because I want to spare as much information as possible, and also because I want it to be reductive as possible so people can watch it themselves. Because I don't want to spoil it too much, you know? But like I said in the non-spoiler section, this show is good, you know? This show wasn't something that really changed my worldview or made me really a fan of this IP, but it was interesting. I don't want to belittle this show like it wasn't good. I gave it a 7.5 to an 8 for a reason. So I definitely recommend it to people who don't mind gore or like a darker story because this setting is so cool. The characters, they're quirky, they have a lot of personality, and overall, it really got me invested into the story that it was trying to tell. Again, I left out a lot on purpose to have people basically like push them to watch the show if they have a little bit of interest in it. But if you do, if you don't, let me know down below what you thought of it. Thank y'all for watching as always. Sorry for no upload yesterday. And I'll see you all in the next video. Whatever show I watch next, you guys will be here for it, at least hopefully. I'll be here to upload it. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.